Mr. Smith.
Hey, what's up? What's good? What's happening? Welcome to the King and Me show. I'm one half of this thing, King.
Hey y'all, it's me, Michelle. How y'all doing?
And we back this Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month of November. The first Monday of November. I like that subtle look over it. Thank you, babe. We here at the King and Me show attempt to offer a real outlook on a healthy relationship. Real being relatable,
Entertaining,
accountable,
and loving.
Hey, I was gonna carry us if we didn't.
I know,
get there.
You got it.
Hey, it's a team effort over here.
Team effort.
All right, we've been doing this live stream for a while now, giving people a peek into our relationship. As Michelle and I have been together for over 2 years now. We celebrated our anniversary back on October the 20th, and we do this live stream to offer an insight for those of y'all that are out there dating, seeking someone to do life with, if that's your goal, or marriage, if that's your goal, just to showcase that it's not all trash out there, but you really have to be mindful and intentional about what it is that you do. And before we get started, it is a new month.
It's a new month. Hey.
And what we like to do, Michelle got us a calendar, and we're going to showcase what our new month calendar is. I'm curious. I don't know what these are. So y'all are going to know the same time that I know.
So if you don't remember from earlier this year, which is okay, the calendar that I bought King has a picture that we took each month in the previous year. Mm-hmm. So the picture that you're about to see is a picture that we took, oddly enough, I think today's Monday. It literally was November 4th, 2023.
Dope. Hey, that was us in Pittsburgh.
That's when we went to go visit my one of my former students at University of Pittsburgh, and that legitimately was a year ago today. It was Saturday, November the 4th, 2023.
Was that one that Castle went with us as well? Or was it just you and I?
It was just the two of us.
Just you and I. All right. Yeah, that was definitely a dope month and a dope trip. I do remember that one because y'all, my memory is trash. But today we're going to talk about cohabitation. All things cohabitation. If you looked at the thumbnail, our thumbnail talked about a cohabitation agreement. And that's one of the things that we're also going to talk about as well. We're going to bring up some statistics about cohabitation, right?
Ooh.
What are the pros and cons, the benefits and challenges of cohabitations? We're going to give some real life experiences, as both Michelle and I have cohabitated with our lover at some point in our life, and maybe kind of share what we learned in that. You asked an excellent question over the weekend that I want to highlight as well.
Do you remember the question?
I remember the intention of the question.
Okay.
And I think that that's really more important than what the question was specifically.
Okay.
We're also going to talk about boundaries and expectations, right? That's one of the biggest challenges that people face when cohabitating. So we're going to share our perspective. And look, if y'all have any inputs on these topics, we're not the experts here. We do this to get feedback, to hear what's going on out there so that y'all can share y'all's story as well. So if you have any inputs, put it in the comment section. We'd love to hear it, share it, and showcase it. Maybe somebody else can learn something about it as well. We're also going to talk about the financial part of it, right? Some people talk about 50-50 stuff. Some folks talk about, the man should come in and be the provider and take care of everything. And if he doesn't, he's not going to get the respect of his household. We're going to talk about that as well. How was that voice? Did you like that voice? Was it sexy?
Oh, so sexy.
Yes.
May I ask a favor of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Like, this is just me and my love language. Could you move your mouse over here?
I can.
That way your body is more positioned towards me.
When you started, I knew what you were going to ask. As long as you're comfortable with me being across your body like this, all right? We're also going to talk about conflict, right? How can you resolve cohabitation challenges and keep the communication strong while doing it? Look at offering some tips of things and then close out the show. So that's our live stream for today. Live stream topics for today. But before we get into this, let's give a shout out to the people in the building. Shout out to Free T. We got a celebrity up in the building.
Hey, sis.
Hey, appreciate you popping in. I ain't seen nothing from you in a while, young lady. Where that content at? I enjoy it. Let's see. We got Tarika, one of the best mods in the land, and popped up. Said beautiful. Hey, Tarika.
Mwah.
Same last. That's a good, strong last name. Good last name.
There you go.
All right. Ooh, let's save this. Tarika's already added some things to the thing. Tarika, I'm going to start, and we're going to circle back up to it when we do talk about the pros and cons as well. All right. So that's everybody in the building. We're trying a different format too.
Because I like it. I did it on my live stream not too long ago, and we like it.
All right. So you're the one that's good with definitions. We're not going to assume that people know what cohabitation is. So, Michelle, what's the definition of cohabitating according to you?
Well, so habitation, coming from some etymology of some other type of word, essentially means reside, live together, live, a place where you rest your head, your dwelling. And coming from, again, some etymology of some other word, meaning together. So cohabitation would mean, in the literal sense, to live together, to reside together.
Okay. Now, I came from a 14-year marriage in which me and my ex-wife, we cohabitated together. We lived together throughout our marriage, and we did not move in together until we got married. You have not been married before.
Have not.
Have you cohabitated with somebody?
I have.
How long was it?
I lived with my ex. We were together for 2 years, and I want to say we resided in the same place for probably 18 months of those 2 years.
Okay, so just over a year and a half, or roughly a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But then, so we were together for 2 years, but then we broke up 3 months into an 11-month lease. So technically, we did reside together throughout the rest of that time. But I mean, we lived in the same dwelling place, but we didn't live together. You know what I mean? Like, we just lived in the same place for the remaining months of that contract.
Okay. Tarika said, King, who doesn't know what cohabitation means? We have some non-English speaking people that watch our stuff from time to time. So I want to ensure that we're inclusive of people that might have a language barrier or don't necessarily understand certain words and certain meanings.
And then when you ask me to do stuff, this is what my students be talking about. I'm sarcastic. So here I am with like etymology. And while that is the correct word, I did not use it in the correct sense. So, tis that. All right, let's dig in.
All right. So what do the statistics say about couples who live together? Now, the prevalence of cohabitation, according to a Pew research, among adults aged 18 to 44 in the United States, 59% of couples have cohabitated, or 59% of people have cohabitated at some point, surpassing the 50% of people who has ever been married.
Ooh.
Okay, so more non-married couples are shacking up, according to the Pew Research Center. Okay. As far as cohabitation before marriage, 76% of women who married between 2015 and 2019 lived together with their spouse before marriage, up 40% from the early 1980s. And this was a Bowling Green State University study. Now, I think that speaks to more of the times now in which before the 1980s, maybe you could say the 1970s, a generation before us, marriage was a lot more prevalent. It was one of the things, especially like down south. I can't speak to those northerners up there.
First of all, we are in a southern state right now. Like, we are in a southern state.
It wasn't outlandish for people to get married and then move in together very quickly. Something that I actually learned fairly recently was that a lot of people, and this was more prevalent in the South too, some of our grandparents had 3 or 4 marriages and divorces in their lifetime. And it's starting to be alarming and surprising because some of those things are records that they tried to keep secret, but some counties kept really good public records, and families are starting to learn that what they thought was a nuclear family was not so nuclear. And the advancement of good record keeping and technology is starting to put a lot of family skeletons out in the public. I just found that pretty interesting. At the age at marriage, couples who cohabitate before marriage tend to marry at older ages, and the median age at first marriage for women who cohabitated is around 26 to 27, compared to those who did not.
All right. We do have some guests in the building. So over on Facebook, shout out to our sis Wit up in the building. We are so excited to see you next month. So excited. And then we have someone who's popping over from what's that?
We got Twitch in the building. Said, what up, little bro? What's good? What's cracking? We got Twitch viewers in the building. I like when Twitch viewers pop up.
Twitch.
That's dope. Regarding the relationship satisfaction, married adults report higher levels of relationship satisfaction and trust compared to those who are cohabitating. For instance, 58% of married adults say that things are going well in their relationship versus 41% of cohabitating adults. What?
I don't know if I believe that statistic. Like, okay, no. Okay, so here's why I say that. I would say that I think, like, I really want to see someone break down the statistics of happiness in a marriage and in a long-term relationship. Thank you. When there are children that are involved, because I think I try to look for it all the time. I try to look for the divorce rate of people who do not have children. But every time I look it up, it says that people with children stay married, which is true. People do stay married longer when they have kids because they want to keep that happy household for the kids.
Correct, but it's not a happy household.
But that's not what the statistic is showing.
It's just a longer marriage.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. And it doesn't show me the statistic of how long people who never had any kids together, how long they stay married. Because I just assume that will last longer. Because I think kids put a wear and tear and strain on marriages.
I agree. Now, the final stat that we're going to highlight here, this was specifically regarding cohabitation and marriage, right? So some studies suggest that couples who cohabitate before marriage may have a higher likelihood of divorce. Research indicate that the odds of divorce were 1.31 times higher for women who cohabitated prior to marriage, and that came from Psychology Today.
But so that's one that I don't understand. Like, I know there's someone on my friends list on Facebook who that was the case for her and her ex-husband. They were together for well over a decade, like I think 11 years before they got married. And now I can tell from Facebook clues that they're not together anymore. So I do legitimately wonder, like, but y'all were already together, like living together as husband and wife for 11 years. So what happened? I think in their case, there was something else that I'm not going to say on like publicly that happened to them that may have caused that shift. But that is something that I do wonder about, like, why?
Okay. You know, it's interesting because right now, for people that don't know, the current status of both Michelle and I aren't cohabitating. Michelle and I aren't married. We are going to cohabitate at one point in the near future, not the far future, in the near future. And Michelle and I have already had these conversations about what that looks like. So we had a friendship agreement before you and I became friends. We are in a relationship agreement now that we've stuck to for 2 straight years. I think that we should draft up a cohabitation agreement 6 months before you and I decide to move in together, to iron out and talk about the things that we can talk about live on air if you're comfortable doing it.
We can talk about it live on air. So you know me, I'll sit here right now, pull up Google on my phone and be drafting the mess out of that thing. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. But no, we can go ahead and we can do that now. That way we can have it and pull back from the episode later and be able to go through it. And then people can comment. So like as we're saying, like this is what would be on there, people can comment and be like, oh well, you know, I'd add da 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 da, or like this is how they feel about it as we go along with it.
Bet.
I'm about that life.
All right, now let's talk about the pros and cons of cohabitation, some of the benefits of cohabitation and some of the challenges. Now, we already have one person who commented here, and then we'll give our own thoughts. And if other people have things to add, please do. So, Tarika said the pros of cohabitation: 1, you save more money; 2, companionship; and then 3, I think you started to type something, but it got here. 3. Okay. You see how people deal with different issues. I need you to explain more about see how people deal with different issues. I think I know what you mean.
Like I understand how that would be a con, but I'm curious to see how that would be a pro.
So let me go with my first con, and then you can say yours. Well, just kind of rate. Oh,
con or just pros?
I'm sorry, pros.
Okay.
Right off the bat, a pro is depending on how you want to do this. You can talk about the money, right? So we hear a lot in these live stream spaces that people say that they want a traditional relationship. Well, by definition, a traditional relationship involving the man covering the house and all the expenses and stuff that comes with that, right? That's how a traditional relationship is typically set up. I look at that and go, well, what that would mean for me is that if you and I decide to set up that way, I would have to, I'm just telling you the way that I think. I'm like, the expense that I would have for a house if it was just me, it's different for a house that it has for the both of us, right? Because it's going to require more square footage, more space, not an obscenely amount, because this is somebody who she spends hours
a day
watching looking at tiny home videos.
Because I want a tiny home. By the way, I think I sent you in Facebook Messenger. I sent you one.
You did.
I absolutely loved it. King, I want to live in it. Oh, it's so gorgeous. So it's so gorgeous. Tiny
I'm not saying that something like that gives me pause, meaning, oh man, I just know that. But it's a different expense because the way that I would budget for just myself is one thing, but how I would budget for both of us is a completely different ball game. So it can be a pro depending on how you look at it. Now, what are your thoughts?
So here's the thing. Here's what King is trying to be polite and not say. He thinks I'm bougie, and I am not going to disagree with him. I have 3, maybe 4 requirements for living in a home. And I'll get to my pros. Ooh. But I have 3, maybe 4. So number
like that
1,
list.
Okay, it's very short. Number 1, I am very particular about how the kitchen looks in the home where I live. I'm not saying I need like 5-star kitchen, but I just need it to look clean. And like I need a certain type of countertop. Again, it doesn't even have to be like real countertops. It just needs to not look real fake. You know what I mean? It okay. Second of all, in the bathroom, outdated bathrooms don't necessarily scare me, but he's laughing because he knows I have OCD. But what scares me are certain types of tile. Like the smaller the tile, the more germs are held within that tile.
Mhm.
And I can't live like that. So that's kind of where my second thing is. So what matters to me and where we live is what the kitchen looks like, what the bathroom looks like, where it's located, because we know that there's a certain animal that I don't deal with.
Okay.
So we can't buy in a neighborhood or in a state or in a town that is heavily populated with said animal.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, it's not going to work. And no, that's it. That's my list. Like that is honestly my list. Other than that, I can go in a tiny home. Like I'm trying to tell you, and notice I only send you the tiny homes with really nice bathrooms and kitchens. Oh, and laundry in unit. Like that's important for me. Laundry in unit is important for me. So 4, it really is 4.
Okay.
But that's it. So for me, with those 4 things in mind, the number one pro for cohabitation for me is companionship. Because
Why is that important?
that is the most important thing for me on my list. And the reason why it's the most important thing on my list is because I'm going to get mushy. I like to be held by you. So
Aww.
I want to I want to go to sleep every night with you. And I want to be held for the 5 minutes that you will hold me before we both roll over and go to sleep.
Yep.
And then I want to wake up and have that good morning kiss and then just like move about the day.
The good morning breath kiss?
I take it.
Okay. All right, I'm with it.
So like that's, for me, like that's the number one benefit of cohabitation. Number 2 benefit, and Jay is right, it's always a financial win for the woman. It's never a financial win for the man. However, if we get that tiny home, babe, first of all, you and I together, we saving on heat because you and I don't believe in heat. Like we don't like being hot.
Correct.
So we're saving on heat right there. I mean, our AC bill may be through the roof, but we're saving on heat. And if we get a tiny home, it's less space to cool.
Let's talk about this now. This is off topic, but on topic. Degree of temperature in the home on 3. So 1, 2, and then we say it.
Like what it's always supposed to be?
What we would, yes, say it.
All right, so 1, 2, and then on 3, say it. Okay.
Yep. All right. 1, 2,
68.
That, I can do that.
Okay.
Plus or minus 2 degrees, but I'd rather go minus 2 degrees on that.
Yeah.
68 to 70 is a solid point. I'm glad we see eye to eye on that.
I'm telling you, we wouldn't have no heat bill. We wouldn't have the AC bill. I'm telling you, it would be ridiculous. Through the roof.
Hey, Nate, I see your question. I started. We're going to answer that one. We're definitely going to answer that one for sure. I think that's an excellent question.
All right, so we talked pros. So those were 2 pros. You want to get into the cons or nah?
Yes, absolutely. No, we should talk about the cons. Here's the con, and it doesn't have anything to do with you. It's me. Look, y'all, I, King Smith, am not the neatest, tidiest person in the planet. All right. I will leave cups in every single room that I go through just because. I will go from that room to the kitchen and still don't know why I don't take the cup from that room to the kitchen. Okay. I know this about myself. Michelle is tidy. She's organized, right? So for me, if I'm going to ask her to cohabitate with me, her and I are going to have an understanding of the things that are cons about me that we can work on so that my skin's not itching by stuff that she's doing and her skin's not itching by stuff that I'm doing, like leaving cups in every room I go to. So the cons are we live 2 different ways,
are both
right?
Of those cups yours?
No, this one isn't. This one I haven't used at all. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
I saw 2 cups and I was like, wait a minute, is he like really telling his truth right now?
no,
Sorry.
So I think one of the cons are putting two people that day to day live different. I think can cause some conflict, and you get over that by having an agreement and an understanding and talking through that. But if you don't have that communication and you don't have that agreement, then there could be some static. So that's my con.
Okay. I will second your con. So that is something that is a great, well, it's a great concern to me. So Jay said something. He said that a man can't be his true self when he lives with a woman. And I want to say this
Ooh.
woman believes that I can't be my 1000% truest self because so in all seriousness, I do have OCD. So I do have a level of order and organization that I need to have, or else things aren't right, like upstairs. Things aren't right mentally. And then additionally, I have ADHD. So heavy on the H. So there are times where I will get random bursts of energy to go out and like clean and do random things. And this is something King and I were talking about over the weekend, that I don't like pre-plan when I'm going to clean, or I'll try, but it never really works out that way. But there may be a morning where I just wake up and I'm like, I feel like cleaning the bathroom. So I'm not gonna bother him. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, King, you have to get out of the house. Like I need to clean. You need to leave, leave, leave." It's not that. But what it'll boil down to is King will be asleep, and then he'll wake up to the fresh aroma of bleach, like all over the bathroom and all over the kitchen. Because naturally, now that I've cleaned the bathroom, I got to come downstairs and start cleaning something else because it makes sense in my head.
Naturally, though?
Naturally, it's a natural transition to just like, oh, bathroom, now kitchen. And then like I have an order of how I clean the bathroom. So like that's something that I am afraid for you to see. So for me, I look at it like it's a con because I'm afraid of you seeing that level of my OCD and my ADHD, because you've seen them, but you've seen them in my dwelling. You've never seen them in our dwelling.
Don't threaten me with a clean house. Oh my.
Y'all save this video.
Oh my.
Save this video. Save this video, because I need you to remember that you were accepting and welcoming of my OCD and ADHD cleaning habits.
Jason said, I'm happy to explain if they allow a quick moment for me before they end the show. Technically, it won't be possible today because there will be an echo. If you call in, we wouldn't be able to work it out. But I got to remember that for future episodes that we can have when folks call in.
Can you type it, or it's too long?
I think I get why he said that. It would probably make sense to talk
hear
it
him
out.
say it. Okay.
Yeah. So not this episode, Jason, but in the future, I'll make sure to have us technically set up to be able to allow for call-ins.
What did Free T say? Because she said something and then she said, "Never mind, y'all answered it."
I think he wanted to talk. It was this one here where he said,
"Oh, never mind, you answered." Oh, she was talking to Jason. Okay.
Yeah, which I don't pass gas around you.
Yeah, that I don't understand.
Versus when you're like not here, like I wake up and it's trumpet. Brr, 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 brr.
So, I want to be clear. I don't disagree with what Jason said. I don't disagree at all. I do view it as a problem that people aren't their truest selves, because I also look at it and I'm like, but shouldn't we be free to do that? But even I said it to an extent, we're kind of afraid that the other person is going to judge us for that. So I guess that's why. But I do still say we should be able to be our truest self. They go, yes, a trumpet. Yes, ma'am. I wouldn't know because he doesn't release himself.
I do want to list one quick con, and then we could go to the next thing. This is something that I talked about as well. I wasn't necessarily sure. Like when I'm home, I'm typically in chill mode. Like if I'm not doing anything, I'm chilling. So I was initially like, is she gonna think that that's boring? That I will just want to sit on the couch, not look at anything, not speak to nobody, and just sit there, right? And I'm not saying that I'm gonna do that 24/7, but are you gonna see that, think that there's a pattern? Oh, I didn't think that King was gonna be just sitting here. He's not spending time with me. I am here. He should be spending time with me. That's a thought that I had. I'm not saying that you were the reason why I'm thinking that, but I hear stories of other men that cohabitated with somebody and said that they didn't understand. It's not like they were on the game 24/7. I'm a gamer, right? Is me gaming going to make you feel as though that's time that we should be spending together just because I'm gaming?
So he mentioned that, and my comeback for that was, number one, I'm an extroverted introvert, which means I truly do recharge when I am not around a mass amount of people. But when I am around people, I can have energy, I can be outgoing. Honey, you were talking to the queen of, okay, I don't feel like going nowhere. And you have caught me in the months of seasonal depression where I'm trying to be in my house and not trying to go out that much. So, no, honey, you don't have to worry about that with me. You don't want to go out? Okay, neither did I. Let's stay in. Like, I'm fine with that. And then your comment about gaming and like how I will feel with that. It's different if we live together and you game, because I know eventually you'll get in bed and I'll be able to cuddle and spend time with you in bed, like as we're sleeping or falling asleep. Versus if we are, like, if I'm spending the night for one reason or another and we don't live together. So it's just like that quick visit and you spend the whole night gaming. Like, that's totally different. In either case, you are getting in the bed. So it is what it is. Like, that's the end goal that I desire. The amount of time that it takes you to get there, it is what it is.
Now, let me be clear. I see a clear distinction on, let's say you're going to work and I'm off and everything's done in the house, whatever, yada, yada. And then you get home, but I'm gaming. I don't greet you. I don't acknowledge you. I don't say anything. You say, hey, King, I'd like to take some time to whatever, blah, 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 with you. And I go, oh, babe, I'm in this mission right now. Give me 2 hours. And then in 2 hours, you fall asleep and then I'm still gaming. That's a very clear, to me, neglect that if I do that over time, I can understand how you can feel neglected if that's what I'm spending my time on and I don't give you any acknowledgement whatsoever.
Contract that.
Hey, yeah.
Contract
Absolutely.
that. We finna put that in the contract.
I'm glad you said what you said live, because I'm like, hey, this is gonna be in the contract.
This is contract that right there, because that's a great point. Like, I am big on coming in the house greetings. I'm very, very big. Well, not even coming in the house, coming into a space greeting. I'm very big on, that's the Southerner in me. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. That when you enter a space, you greet the people who are in that space. So I am very big on that. So I would feel some type of way if I came in, you were gaming, and like there was no type of acknowledgement or anything for several hours. I would feel some type of way about that. Now, if I come in, like, imagine, we lived here and I come in and I can hear and see that you're gaming. I'm also not going to go out of my way and be like, hi, King. Hi, I'm home. How was your day? It would probably just be a quick touch on the arm as I'm walking by or something like that. And that's my way of saying hi to you.
Rock on. Okay. Let's get into the real life experiences. Now, again, I was married for 14 years. We spent a majority of, all of our marriage living together. And for the 14 years, in my opinion, I'm not going to speak for her, I felt like we cohabitated successfully. The parts that I think that did not go well came towards the end when our marriage was deteriorating, I can put my hand up and say that I was depressed for a while and didn't know it.
Mhm.
So I was very low energy, very low drag, didn't really do a lot, right? I didn't keep up with certain things with my own appearance, which is a sign of a depression. I was not doing the dishes and things like that when I worked from home. And anytime my ex-wife would come to me about something, I was defensive because the marriage was ending. I was depressed, right? So during that 14 years, in my opinion, I would say that the cohabitation was a successful cohabitation. It ended because of the divorce. So I don't have anything to draw outside of that. I feel as though I was lucky in that the person that I cohabitated with and we did communicate well about those things. And also, let me just say this. I'm gonna speak about me. I'm gonna toot my own horn. I'm low key, right? I don't really trip about a whole lot. As long as I'm doing my part and you're doing your part, I'm happy. I'm good. So, for my real life experience, I would say during the 14 years, it was a successful cohabitation. How about yours?
So I'm going to address that in just 1 second. First of all, I want to apologize to you because I didn't know that you were about to start talking about depression. And depression is a very, very serious thing,
It is.
especially in these months. The bird months are typically really, really hard for seasonal depression. So I want to apologize to you because I didn't know you were going there. But when you started your story, I turned and I looked at the comments. Specifically, this part here where Jay said that he was with a German woman. Free T laughed, and then Jay said, "I swear I had hair before the relationship. Now I'm bald."
Why are you
I
apologizing to
started
me?
chuckling, and then I turned around and you were talking about depression.
Oh,
So then I ended up biting my lip, as Jason's saying, like I'm biting my lip because I'm trying not to laugh about what I read on the screen while you're talking about something so serious as depression.
I appreciate your apology. Don't think it was needed. I saw what was going on, so I knew what was going on, and I think it was apparent too. But
well, and that,
thank
and
you
I
for
don't,
addressing
you know, all your fans on Instagram. I don't want them to see this clip later and be like, "Oh, she laughing about," like, no, like I was laughing at the hair, but no, Jason, that's why I was biting my lip because I read your comment and I'm trying to be in serious mode as he's talking about something very serious.
No
Okay,
doubt.
so I apologize.
All right, we good.
But for me, I will say living with my ex wasn't bad. When we first started, he moved into where I was living. So, you know, that was its own situation and he got to see what it was like to live with me. I don't feel like he got the best impression of what it was like to live with me because I was battling depression at that particular time, not because of him, but there was a season where probably like 6 or 7 months into our relationship, having nothing to do with him because it started around the bird months. So having nothing to do with him, 6 or 7 months into our relationship, I was going through a really bad bout of depression, or I was entering a really bad bout of depression. And we had probably just started living together maybe like a month or so into it before that happened. And what I will say is he worked his hardest to try to navigate around that. And he did an excellent job. I will never, ever badmouth him for how he reacted to my depression or anything like that.
How did he react? That way, maybe somebody can learn from what you say that he did.
He was very helpful. He would ask questions, inquire what he could do around the house to like help to better things, what I needed in that particular moment. He was very responsive. It wasn't a come on, Michelle, let's go outside, let's do this, let's do that. He respected how I was feeling about things and understood that unfortunately in that time I wasn't the best like girlfriend that I could possibly be. But he had known the girlfriend that I was before that. So he gave a lot of grace. He gave a lot of grace.
Okay.
Conversely, I will say, in my opinion, that I was difficult to live with because of my OCD and my cleaning. I will say one thing that he said when our relationship ended and he went into his next relationship with now the mother of his children.
Was this the person who I spoke to?
Yeah.
Okay.
What he did say, as he's now in the relationship with the mother of his children, is that when he got into that relationship with her, he had his level of cleanliness went from here to here because of me. And he had these expectations for how the mother of his children was supposed to be, cleaning and stuff like that. So I kind of helped set him up on that path. But he was not a bad person to live with. He and I had different opinions on many things, but that wasn't the issue with our relationship. Like, our relationship didn't go bad because we lived together, if that makes sense. Like, that wasn't the catalyst for our downfall.
Okay. Yeah, because people talk about, like Jason said earlier, and I'm going to see if I can go find it here and highlight it. He said in all capitals, I want to say, oh, he didn't say all capitals, but I can read it for you. Man, never again. And I can admit, I believe I said that I would never do it again, right? Now, follow me here. There's this content creator who I follow by the name of Coach Greg Adams. Shout out to CGA. CGA talks about living a free agent lifestyle. He was a basketball coach, so he used that analogy as far as how he has rules to live by, or not values, like a moniker, something that you can easily go to and say so that people know why you make the decisions based on, what that moniker is. So the free agent lifestyle was quite simply no long-term relationships, no cohabitation, and no marriage. That's the path for a man to live like a true free agent. Those were his three tenets for a man to live by. And this came from a guy who he was married for a while. He got divorced. His ex-wife ran him through the ringer. And he said, never again. And part of that is the reason he explains cohabitation is that people change when they start cohabitating. And some people feel as though a process in that change means that, okay, now that I've done this, now that I've got this person roped in, I got him or her. They ain't going nowhere. In 2024 and beyond, that's not the case.
That's not true.
You and I both have options separate of each other. So it's not like we're moving in together out of a convenience for both of us. I'm going to say this on air. I enjoy spending time with her. Michelle's pretty dope. All right. I am glad that she stuck around and Steve Urkeled her way into a relationship with me. That I said what I said.
Delete this. Delete that part. We just need to delete that.
So, for the people that follow those three tenets of CGA, Coach Greg Adams, no cohabitation, no long-term relationship, no marriage. I was saying those words as well because I'm like, man, you ain't. After my marriage ended, it didn't end bad. We didn't use lawyers. We didn't use a mediator. It was just an agreement between us on how we would split things and separate stuff going forward. I still took a hit, and a good chunk of that was my fault. Bad decisions that I made while depressed that I had to navigate and overcome. It is what it is. I understand that now coming out of that. But I still felt it. And while feeling it, I'm like, man, I ain't doing this again, because if this leads to this and then this happens, I get screwed.
And that's fair to understand. I think when I lived with the previous person, I did, and I think Jay said this in the comments, because I needed a certain level of cleanliness, I took over 1000% in that. And I will always admit my fault when I am at fault. And I will say, additionally, so there was that. But I will also say, because I was older than him, I was 3 years older than him. In my opinion, I was very bossy about other things, and I don't like that. However, this is not defending what I did. But I will say that is not something that exists in our relationship. While I may be the dominant person when it comes to cleaning and having that level of organization, King is the king in every other aspect. And I make sure, like, that's something I've learned in the time between when that relationship ended and when our relationship started. I understood that I cannot have the covering of a man and still trying to be in control of the relationship. I can't have both. So I yielded and I've decided I want the covering. So I'm going to just fall back and let you lead.
Okay. I think this is a good time to answer Nate's question before we get to the next topic.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle Nate said, is there an end game of living together? For me, living together can be the end game. And what I mean by that is Michelle and I, in my opinion, can do life together, living together without being married. I'm saying that marriage is not the end game for cohabitation. Cohabitation can be the catalyst for the end game of doing life with one another, but that doesn't necessarily mean a marriage. That's my take on it. So, Michelle, I'm going to ask you very straight up, is that something that you can be comfortable with?
What, that us living together may not lead to marriage?
Correct. Can we live together, have a successful life without a marriage?
Yes. I don't feel like one is dependent on the other. And I say that because there are people who are married who don't live together and they have great marriages. And there are people who live together and aren't married and they have a great relationship. I don't think one depends on the other.
Now, I have to ask a very ignorant question, but it is a question that I feel needs to be asked. Spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
what does the teachings that you follow talk about with cohabitation
Oh,
and things like that?
1000% it says you should be married to live together.
So, can you spiritually be okay as well?
So that is something that's a journey I have to travel on and work on within me. But
Okay.
very 1000%, that is what the Bible says. You should not live together if you're not married.
Okay. All right.
I want to talk about something that Jay said, which is that he said, this is why I can't date teachers because it's very difficult for them to get out of delegation and teacher mode. For your information, say, let me stop. But no, seriously, when I was living with that one person, I was not an educator at that point. So that was just me being bossy. I wasn't an educator at that point. And it's funny because now that I am an educator, I look at it and I'm like, I lead all day in every single aspect of everything that I do. When I'm in the classroom, I'm the leader. When I am doing mentoring with students, I am the leader. When I'm doing tutoring with students, I am the leader. When I'm serving on a board in a particular capacity, I am a leader in that sense. I am a leader every other time of the day. When I come home, I want to be led. So that's a moment for me to fall back and sincerely let King go ahead and lead because I lead in every other capacity. That is the time for me to fall back.
There's an extra component that should be added to what you just said too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable leading. If you say, King, I want your leadership, I also have to be comfortable leading. And I think that sometimes there are people out there that they say that they're comfortable being a leader, but when it comes time to lead, they may not necessarily have the tools that it takes to do it because of things like self-doubt. What if I'm doing this right? What if I'm doing this wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're somebody that's a leader, you have leadership things that you have to, deal with and stuff as well. You have to be comfortable making those decisions. And I'm going to say not really worry about what the other person thinks. You have to consider stuff. Don't get me wrong. You do have to consider things, right? But I can't worry about, ooh, I better not do this because she might feel this about this way. Mm-hmm. You can't be a leader doing that.
Right. I 100% agree. And I think that that's oftentimes what makes the difference between leaders and followers. Followers sometimes have the desire to lead, but not the overall strength to be able to do it.
Now, Free T said, "Good question, King. That's what I was asking." Mm-hmm. We try to cover everything,
right?
And between Michelle and I believe we do a good job of asking the tough questions, no matter what we think about how the other person might feel about that question. And when I think that I've kind of fully thought something through, Michelle will bring something. I'll go, "Ooh, I didn't even think about that. That happened earlier today. Because
I'm inquisitive.
Yes.
So I can come up with a lot of questions.
So let's talk about some of those boundaries and expectations. How do you cohabitate without losing yourself, as Jason talked about earlier?
I think you have to find ways to continue. Like, one of the things I did before I got in relationships, I would go on dates with myself. And you have to find a way to do that still, even when you live with someone else, even if you're married, even if you're a parent, you have to find ways to still go out on dates with yourself. So often, and I say this respectfully and with a lot of love, but so often when we are in relationships and we're not hanging out with our partner, or we're parents and we're not hanging out with our partner and or kids, the first thing that we instinctively do is, I need to go hang out with my friends. I need to go hang out with the boys, or I need to go hang out with the girls, or I need to go link up with this person from church, or I need to go link up with this frat or this soror. And like, that's the first thing that we think to do, when in actuality, you need to go out with yourself.
Yes.
I truly, truly believe that people need to learn how to date themselves. Like, go out to a movie by yourself, and not by yourself where you're on your phone the whole time, but just by yourself. Go out to dinner by yourself. Go out to, and those are two quiet types of things. Go out to like some interactive thing. Like, I was looking at this Friday going out and doing a hands-on activity by myself. I did kind of make plans with someone else for something really quick, but I'm also considering going out and like making candles or something. There's a candle making class on Friday at 6:00. I may be there. Like, I believe that you should go out and you should date yourself, in or out of a relationship, parenthood or not always running to other people. And not to say that there's anything wrong with going to other people, but you need to be okay with being by yourself for a little bit of time. And I think that's how you don't lose yourself, if you continue to date yourself.
I'm going to add on to what you said, because I agree with what you said. Yet I'm going to say, for me, it's the way that you don't lose yourself is you keep your identity for the things that you like to do. I'm in different online groups with other men and fathers, and one of the things that I see often is, I'm just coming out of this relationship. I don't have any friends where I'm at. And I'm thinking, how long have you lived at the place that you're at? You mean to tell me you don't do anything in that 8 years that you've lived in Colorado? You didn't develop any other friendships outside of the marriage or the person that you cohabitated with? For this Friday, I'm going to a game night with some other veteran friends of mine, and it's something that we have on the calendar every 2 weeks. Michelle's welcome to come, because some of the other people, not to participate in the game night, but the host wife knows who you are. She loves you, and you're welcome to at least fellowship with the people that are there. That's always there. You don't have to, but the invitation's there, right?
I think my invitation got lost in the mail.
But whether she comes or not, I'm still going, right? I have those things that I do outside of this relationship, the friendships that I have with others that are important to me as well, right? It's different levels to things, but those connections, those relationships, those networks are still important for a person to have. It's my opinion that married or not, our relationship shouldn't be wrapped into just each other.
I
If that
agree.
makes sense.
No, I agree with you, and I think my only, I need to get a little bit comfortable, more comfortable. Yes, I think my only comment to that is I look at people who are in relationships, and one of the things that I see is it's, well, when they get out of relationships, you ask that question, like, why should someone date you? What do you bring to the table? And most of the time, the response has something to do in the value that other people see in that person. So, for example, let's say you have a man and a woman who were together, excuse me, the relationship ends, and now the woman is trying to get into a new relationship. She goes on a dating show or something like that, and they're like, what do you have to offer? Why would a man be lucky to have you? And the response that she gives is based on the value that other men, maybe her ex, have found in her, not the value that she knows herself to be. And I think that exists, and that's a problem because people don't know how to date themselves. Like, why should a person be with you? What do you bring to the table? And if all you can tell me is I'm a good friend, that's again what someone else believes of you. Or, I'm an excellent mother, I do this and that. Again, that's what someone else believes in you. I can cook. Okay, that's great. So can a lot of people. But like, what do you
Bingo.
bring to the table? And you will know that answer if you have ever truly dated yourself. Go out and explore who you are, the things that you like, the things that bring you joy, and then you can better answer like what you can bring to a relationship. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. Like, the whole glamour, everything has like its trending moment. You know what doesn't trend? Going out and exploring life by yourself. That's not trending.
Mm-hmm. Let me mansplain what you just said to the fellas out there.
To the fellas, because
right.
God forbid they ever agree with anything I say in this world.
No, what you just said was spot on, but I'm just going to mansplain it.
Okay.
All right. To the fellas, it's simple, right? Anybody can bring a vajayjay,
oh my God,
a peace sleeve,
right?
They're abundant. Really it's a dime a dozen, right? You can spin around and see any appropriate age person with peace sleeve. That's not hard. When you're talking about vetting somebody to potentially do life with, understand and listen to and ask them. It's not necessarily what do you bring to the table. Don't ask that. Ask them questions about their values, what we talked about during our last live stream. Ask their question about their values, right? See how they handle conflict, or ask questions about conflict to see how they handle conflict management, conflict resolution. Are you going to be a problem when we're out together and you see something that you perceive as disrespect and you decide to pop off without allowing me to address it? Right? Those are the things that you should be thinking about when deciding to look for somebody for long term. If your goal is to deal with short-term situationships, none of what we're saying matters. But that's not the point of our channel. And I think that people overlook those things, like asking a woman about their values, asking a man about their values. Like, that's not really gender specific. But to mansplain what she just said, everybody got a peace sleeve. Like, what comes with that peace sleeve is what stands out.
So I know we talked about it last week, but this just popped into my head just now because you just said it. People don't ask in dating situations, people don't ask about values. What they'll ask is, what are your religious beliefs? Because for so long, religious beliefs have been synonymous with values that people don't realize that they're actually two completely different things. You can have two people who are Christian and they have completely different values. You can have two people who are atheists and they have two completely different values. If this were not the case, then every political plug, then every single Christian would be voting the same way on the ballot this year. Mm-hmm. And they are not. If having different values and having religious beliefs and values not be synonymous, if that weren't the case, then every atheist, every Muslim, everyone who is of a like-minded faith would be voting the exact same way. However, religious views and values are not synonymous with one another. They are not interchangeable terms, and they cannot be used in lieu of the other. And that is something that people have to realize. When you sit down to date someone and you make up that your mind to date, go ahead, sure, ask about their religious values, but also their religious beliefs, but also ask about values, core values that they believe on, that they stand firm on, because people are going to differ even if they believe the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where so many people get mixed up. They focus so much on religious belief that they don't inquire about values, and it bites them in the butt later.
Couldn't say that any different or any better. That's really solid. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jason, to one of my earlier points, said that he had an argument on a date because the woman wanted him to go stop 3 drunk guys who were loud in a restaurant. And Jason said, like, chick, I don't care enough to put my life in danger because they loud. That's your issue. You go handle it. And look, men, if you continued to have something with that particular person and they never changed that mindset, you're the idiot when it comes back around in boomerangs and she does the exact same thing, but it escalates and now you're in danger. She's already demonstrated that she doesn't give no crap about your safety to ask you to put yourself in a position to do that. She done rounded your battery up. And if you a fool to be like, yeah, I'm going to do that because it's what you asked of me, and then you get your TV turned off, she's still living and riding somebody else's Johnson 6 months later.
Gosh.
I'm just saying. I'm going to speak about things in a manner that I hope can get to these men that bump themselves in the head and it's their own fault a majority of the time.
You're right.
All right. So we are wrapping up, and I do want to put this on the screen here. I'm going to do a listener's Q&A. What are some questions that you have about living together? Now, this question says living together before marriage, but we're going to talk about just in general. What are some questions that y'all would want to ask pertaining living together from us? I think it'd be curious to see if there's anything that people would have that we hadn't necessarily thought about or talked about here. And then we're going to wrap up the show as you got to get home and I got Monday Night Football to watch.
It's just the Chiefs.
It is, but my fantasy team depends on the results of tonight's game.
We already know who's going to win. Like, it's rigged. It's rigged. You ain't got to believe me.
Okay. Let's see if we got a question here. I know that there's a bit of a delay, so we need to fill a little bit of airtime while we wait on these questions to come in. I mean, I don't know if y'all can see what she's doing. I had a shower right before we went live as I got out, and I did half of a mile earlier today, and I didn't want to be on this live stream smelling like outside. But what I forgot to do was put on lotion. So I appreciate you.
Man, your skin just like soaks in the lotion.
I told you.
Goodness.
I need some type of special black people lotion because I don't know what it is about my skin. Maybe I just have bad skin. I don't know.
I don't know.
But thank you.
This one arm gonna be well lotioned.
He said we see the ash.
Sorry. My bad. Y'all know I got ADHD. I can't. Oh, wait. Oh, Lord,
yeah, glad this elbow ain't showing no ash.
Okay.
If there's any questions that anybody have before we end the live stream, please put it down in the chat. And while we wait for that, I'm going to bring this up here. Says tips for maintaining a healthy and happy cohabitation experience. Communicate. Everything comes back to
communication.
Communicate.
Mm-hmm.
We're not joking when we say that we're going to have a cohabitation agreement.
Yeah, 100% serious.
And we might do it live.
No,
or not do it live, but at least showcase it, talk about it, talk about the elements that we have in it and how it's going to work for us. I do have a video here about cohabitation agreement. So while we wait to see if we have any questions, I'm going to see if I can play this video here.
I think you need to start using the loofah.
Focus. I'm going to see if I can play this video here. And then if we don't have any questions, we're going to close out the live stream.
Need one. So first off, a cohabitation agreement is an agreement between two people who are living together that outlines their rights and responsibilities. It covers, what they would like to happen, during the period of cohabitation, on separation, and even death. So it would cover things like how property would be divided, support obligations, some aspect of parenting, and anything else really that speaks to how parties want to organize their affairs. It's a fantastic document to have, so yes, you should have one because it helps provide clarity, certainty, and just that peace of mind, knowing that, this is what you want to happen. It's outlined, it's articulated, and it avoids any confusion on your rights or responsibilities.
Right. So I found that from Facebook. No, I'm sorry, TikTok. That was a TikTok. If you look up cohabitation agreements, there are several legal and law people that talk about what a cohabitation agreement is, how it should be drafted, what are the important elements to have in it, and things of that nature. And it's my opinion that I think 100% of people that cohabitate should have a written down agreement because these can be talked about. You can communicate stuff, right? Oh, I forgot that you said that. Or if they want to gaslight you, you ain't never said that before. And if there's no elements or no proof of what was written down, then you don't have a leg to stand on. Now, Free T said that she has never cohabitated with anyone before. Free T, are you waiting for marriage to cohabitate? Is that an important thing for you? Let us know.
These questions are for you.
Okay, so let's see. First question that we have here. What is advice you would give to the man who is cohabitating with Castle? Okay, great. So Castle's my daughter, spelled with a K, but whatever. What advice would I have to give to a man that would cohabitate with Castle? It's the same thing. Like, it doesn't get tailored to her because it is my hope that between myself and Castle's mother that we've prepared her to cohabitate with a person in general, whether it is a significant other or she's about to go off to college, so her college roommate, right? And that they sit down and that they have an understanding about each other's expectations. I would tell that man, ask Castle what her pet peeves are. Off the rip, like tell her to really talk about what those pet peeves are. Ask Castle what are the things that are really big deal breakers and things that drive her insane, and get her to ask you those same questions. Or if she don't ask them, state what they are just because you've asked her, right? So it would just be to communicate that, the stuff. I wouldn't tailor it specifically to somebody talking to my kid just because it is my kid. The same stuff that I would say to her is what I would say to anybody, or to a man that's with her would be the same thing that I say to anybody.
Which I think also feeds into the next question.
What advice would you give one day to live? What advice would you give to the man who one day wants to live in a house with her? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I answered it. Let's see. Or what advice would you give to a man who wants to move in with your ex-wife? It's the same thing. Communicate. And then two, what Michelle and her ex who she cohabitated with, how they were, it may not necessarily be how we're going to be. I have some overarching things that I just know about her with her cleanliness and things like that. Like, I'm aware of that, right? And me and this person may or may not have had conversations about, this particular subject. I don't know. Maybe we've already talked about it.
That's what y'all talked about?
I said, I don't know. You will never know.
I know. Because he will never tell me.
But I would say, like, my ex-wife wasn't a bad person. If she was, I would say she was the spawn of Satan and don't do it. She wasn't a bad person. She wasn't a bad person to cohabitate with either. So the advice would be communicate. Ask her what her non-negotiables are. What are those pet peeves? And then you really have to decide yourself, am I going to be okay with that? So like, am I going to be okay with you waking up randomly going, I'm going to clean today? I've already told you, you can't ask me to help you last minute.
I don't want your help.
Hey, you shouldn't ask for my help. Because let me tell you, her level of what's it in project management is called the definition of done. Your definition of done and mine completely different.
I'm Jamaican. I don't know what to say.
Okay, and she said that it is important for her to wait for marriage and that would be ideal. All right, shout out to you for being upfront about that and honest.
I would like to comment on this one from Jason because the other questions weren't for me, but I'll take this. So when Jason initially asked you that question and I heard your response, I'm like, yeah, I feel like that's your level of truth. I would disagree with that level of advice. And the only reason I say that is we all represent different parts of the birthing order, right? You're the first child, but you also went off to the military. So you can live in pretty much any situation. You learned how to survive in any situation. I'm the youngest child. I kind of come with a level of, the 4 or 5 people who came before me kind of paved the way. And I kind of got a lot of things handed to me. Whereas your daughter is the only child. Mm-hmm. She's never had to share anything with anyone.
No.
There's a different level of never having had to share anything with anyone that like you need to have extra conversations when it comes to living with someone who has never had to share anything with anyone. That's totally different. So I do agree with Jay on that. Like that is an extra that goes far beyond you need to have good communication with the person that you're living with. It's a little bit deeper.
Well, I said it very cavalier, but I agree with you.
Yeah, because
I don't disagree with you.
I'm about to say like that. That's more than just to make sure you communicate about everything.
Yes, because it's like, yes, understand that she was the only child. Understand that she's never had to share anything with anybody. If she has a roommate in college, which is likely going to happen, that is going to be the first time that she's had to have a shared living space with somebody. She may not be up to par with that, but her mother and I think you might have had that conversation with her. No,
I talked about laundry because I was like very serious about laundry.
Yeah,
like laundry
so
is a thing.
We've had that conversation about with her, but not just once. Like when she, it's going to be a different experience. The best thing that we can do is try to prepare her for that by a couple of different things. Am I doing the best job of giving her the example of doing it now? No, I'm aware of that, right? It would be better to say, hey, because you're about to be, you should start handling things this way so that it's more of a habit for you when you get there. Saying it out loud now, it makes a lot of sense, right? But we are starting that conversation, right? Like Kelsey's like her dad. She's not the neatest person.
And I want to be clear. I am not saying that there is anything quote or unquote wrong with Castle or that she's doing anything wrong or anything like that. I like to clarify that because when it gets spliced, I'm not trying to have the people don't come for you in the comments. Necessary. They come for me.
It's not necessary.
They come for me. But anyway, but that's just to say that when you have someone who is an only child, that's different from someone who has grown up with siblings at either end of or any end of it, whether they are the oldest, the middle, or the youngest. It is different. It is, and see, there's that comment, and this is said respectfully, and this is said with love, but that is the truth.
Yes.
If you've never, ever had to live with anyone, whether it's a sibling or a romantic partner, there are things that you don't know how to do. You don't know how to adjust, and the older you get, the harder
that becomes.
It becomes significantly harder the older you get. It's one thing if you've lived with someone at one point, then you go a season when you're not, and then you have to get back into it again. That's something totally different. It kind of is like riding a bike. Eventually, you may get used to it again, but it is completely different if you have never, ever had to live with anyone. If you've never had to share a room with someone, if you've never had to share a bed with someone, like there are so many different things. And I think if they did relationship statistics based on birthing order, I think those statistics would look a lot different. Like if you took into consideration how many people cohabitate or married and then eventually stopped living together or got divorced, and how many of them were only children versus how many of them were like middle children or eldest children or whatever. If you broke it down by birthing order, I guarantee you them statistics will look a lot different.
I agree. Now, there's something that I want to highlight here, and then we'll close out the show. Free T said, I'm 38, and at this point, being single and not having to share my space seems much more appealing than cohabitating at this point. Hey, look, I won't say who it is. This person watches our show from time to time. They are of retired age. And I was having a conversation with this particular person. I know the person that she is in the relationship with now. And when having a conversation with said person, she said, I enjoy having my own place. He has his place. I have my place. And that works for me. And we have an understanding. And Michelle and I talked about this on one of our live streams a long time ago. And you were very like, I hear that, but that doesn't work for me. And I'm fine with that, right? I fall into the category of I am comfortable cohabitating with her. If she were to also say, I'm not interested in cohabitating, oh, I'm 100% fine not cohabitating and having my own space. So I think it's just about understanding your desires and understanding the other person desires as well. But I can completely understand why this person who is of retirement age said that she just don't see herself cohabitating again. But she loves and is in a really healthy relationship with the person that she's with. But both of them, no desire to cohabitate whatsoever.
Hey, that's fine.
And that works.
Again, we not here to yuck your yum. We are not here to do that.
Said, I already know if I get married, I want to own everything. I know Jason got something to say about that.
He did. He said, you're definitely an only child.
No doubt. Well, hey, y'all, this has been a really good and engaging conversation. We did a little bit of a different format today, but it worked out.
It did.
It worked out. I like this. So to everybody that tuned in on the live stream, thank you. To the people that are going to catch us on the replay gang. Let us know in the comment section what you think about cohabitating. Did it work for you? Would you do a cohabitation agreement or not? All right. If you hadn't hit the like button already on whatever platform that you're watching on, please hit that like button. If you would like to support the show, there are ways to support the show in the link down below. We will be back on Veterans Day next Monday live, right?
Oh, with a salute to my favorite vet.
Yes. Awesome. Yep. Next Monday is Veterans Day. We will be live. Don't know what the subject is just yet, but between now and then, we'll figure it out.
Actually, we do know what the subject is.
Oh.
You texted me.
Yes.
I don't know which phone you texted.
Don't worry about it.
But it's something like business something or something because you asked me to do something.
Yes. Next Monday's live stream, we're going to talk about approaching relationships from a business standpoint, right? And
yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was.
And why you should approach a relationship like a business in today's day and age.
Mm.
I think it'll be interesting. That was going to be a different format too. So we'll do it and see how it goes. So shout out to y'all, Free T, Jay, our Twitch viewer who is still there.
Hey, shout out to Twitch.
And everybody else that's watching on Perry Production. Y'all have been awesome. We appreciate y'all tuning in. That's our live stream for the day. I'm about to go get my kiss.
I want to really quickly plug Sip and Develop in Oxon Hill, Maryland. We went there for our anniversary. We took pictures there, and then we had an opportunity to develop the pictures. And then for an extra price, you can have access to a digital copy of all of your images, and we added that in. King is pulling up some of the photos that we took. Everything that you do is in black and they give it to you in black and white, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It was an amazing experience, something that we recommend for other people to do. And we don't often plug things here, so when we do, please know that it is very important. So again, they are called Sip and Develop. These were our pictures. Like, look at those black and white. It is pulling up now. Look at them.
Look at them cheeks.
I got my mama cheeks. I got my mama cheeks.
No doubt. All right. Well, look, you got to get to the crib.
Oh, you know why? I don't have school. I don't have to go to work tomorrow because tomorrow is election day.
Go vote. It's election day. If you live in the U.S., people have died for the opportunity to vote. The history on this has been atrocious when it comes to just getting people to go vote. So I'm just going to end it there and suggest that you use your voice and use the opportunity and go vote.
Look at it this way. If it weren't so important for us to get out and vote, then so many people would not be trying so hard to suppress our right to vote. Please also look that voting laws have changed. People have been discouraged with deep fakes to not go vote. Go vote. We are not going to tell you which political party to align with.
That's your decision.
However, we are going to say get out there and vote. And if you don't vote and you're not using your voice in this election,
you can't
don't complain because we don't want to hear none of it. You had an opportunity. Go vote. Rock the vote. We love you.
Okay. That's our live stream. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Bye, y'all.
Peace. Ooh, that was juicy. One more.
Thank you.
Deuces.
Bye.